artificial intelligence, for those of you that need help with that. It's something that I don't think about a lot because we take our day-to-day technology for granted. But I got thinking about it with the conversation with a couple people. As a writer, which is those of you that don't know me and haven't listened to the show, I have a master's in creative writing. I have a couple of novels, short stories, these types of things. And I appreciate and respect the idea of making inferences about our future. Utilize AI in a way that does anything to help with healthcare. I'm all for it until people's privacy is jeopardized, if it gets to that point. Virtual traveling agents, which I thought was very interesting. So they'll help you figure out your vacation and where to go and get you booked and all that, and it's not even a human. I don't know about that one. I might have to try it just for fun. It was in the Norwegian Sea, so this is where it gets interesting. So it was in the Norwegian Sea, and you're going, well, what the hell was the U.S. submarine doing in the Norwegian Sea? Well, it shares land and maritime borders with Russia. Welcome to Stay in the Gray podcast. We explore news that gets people talking by blending comedy and controversy.
Brutal banner, fierce word, shadow streets Butthurt.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Trey. Together we dive into tough topics with a combination of humor and some insight.
So join us as we navigate the gray areas of the world and engaging in real conversation.
Come get to know us.
Hey guys, I'm back. I was just looking over some of these Butthurt comments and they're pretty entertaining, so we'll get to that. But first, opening headline. Tell you what, these get better and better. I don't know how, unless they're made for clickbait. I mean, unless they know. They're sitting here going, this is going to get us something, clicks. There's no way that they would let this through. So this one basically says, one-armed man applauds the kindness of strangers. And I just doesn't, I mean, you know, we kind of chuckle at it, but I don't think people with one arm are chuckling at that headline. But that's headline for tonight. Make the story what you will. We'll move right along to Butthurt comments. You know, each platform is different in what they let you do and say. Instagram, none of them like you to kind of lash out at each other. Twitter's the one that's now kind of uncensored because of Elon. But Instagram is kind of in the middle. And we've just started kind of interacting on Instagram. We've got a lot of stuff posted on Instagram, but as far as the actual interaction, we posted a clip that was us talking about laughing again, being able to, you know, there were slaves of all different ethnicities, and how far back did you want to go and where, in the words of Elon Musk. And, you know, everybody, we expected a little bit of a pushback, but the one that gets me is, it's when they kind of come at me and they accuse me of trying to be politically correct when I'm just being real. Let me give you an example. In the clip, we said we said that, you know, we realize that white people have had it easier and it's easier for us to sit here and make jokes, because the whole point was that black people make jokes about white people and it's funny. Make jokes about Hispanics and it's funny. But when white people make the jokes, it's, you know, it's easier for us to take jokes about us because we're the lucky ones. And this person got upset at that and said, very few white people have had it easy in this country, kook. So I don't know what kook, you know, I've seen that before, but K-U-C-K, good for you for calling me a kook, for saying that. So I just said, you know, I said it with a sarcastic emphasis, kind of like, I've got to say this. And of course he says, well, you just don't want to be canceled. That's why you're saying it. Well, no shit. The quotes mean this is the way we have to talk these days. You cannot. Yes, I understand that in this country, my ancestors maybe did it a little bit differently than others. And I get that. And that's all I meant. And here I am, apparently, now the white people had it hard, and I'm bashing them and not giving them their due. So, white people, come at me, and we can talk about reparations for you if it's been so hard. But the sad part is I don't disagree with the guy. I mean, we talk about slavery, 250, 300 years ago, and we're supposed to sit here and talk about how much harder your life is than ours. Not in 2024. So let's move forward from that. I don't know. That one rubbed me the wrong way, and we'll go from there. Let me go ahead and update you on the last episode's topic, which was Joe Biden approving missile fire into Russia with U.S.-made missiles, long-distance missiles or long-range missiles. And the question was, well, are they, now that we've approved that they can do it, are they going to? Well, they did. And apparently 5 missiles were shot down and 1 caused damage. Well, U.S. officials, of course, saying that, no, Russia only got 2 of them. So around 8 that were fired. So, of course, everybody's playing the game. And this sucks, people. Let me read you what Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said. They're accusing Washington, D.C., our administration, of trying to escalate the conflict. The Atakims, whatever the hell that is, I'm assuming that's the missile type, was used repeatedly overnight against Bryansk region, is of course a signal that they, the U.S., want escalation, he said. And without the Americans, use of these high-tech missiles is impossible. So guess what? Now they're going, so now it's official. Are we at war? I mean, would you guys say we're at war now? It sounds like that's what they think. He said Russia would proceed from the understanding that missiles were operated by American military experts. He said, we will be taking this as a renewed phase of the Western war against Russia, and we will react accordingly. That doesn't sound very good to me. I'm not excited about it. And I just don't understand if this current administration wants war, if it helps them in any way, or if they're just trying to fuck with Trump before he gets to office to make it more difficult. What's the goal here? What are you trying to do by approving this missile launch into Russia? We have so many issues to deal with here at home, and now we're involved in the Russia-Ukraine war. We're already involved in the Middle Eastern conflict, as if we can do anything about that. That's been going on for thousands of years. So I just wanted to update you. Missiles were indeed fired. Thank you, Joe, or whoever's pulling your strings, because now I hope it doesn't escalate too much, or we may not be talking. Let's move on from that, and let's do some news. I'm so pissed off. I just don't get it. But I'll move on. We'll do some fun news. This is news you need to know. This is interesting because it has to do with the U.S. military as well. So there's a Norwegian fishing boat with fishermen on it, and it was called the Oiget, and it was Norwegian. I don't know how to pronounce Oiget. That's how we would say it in English. And they ended up casting a net out, and it caught. I don't think it caught much of it, but it tangled in with a U.S. Navy submarine. And so, which was the USS Virginia. And so while they're checking their nets, they're kind of like, what's going on? And this small little crew was called by the U.S. Coast Guard and informed them that their net was entangled up with the submarine, and that we're sorry, but your net's destroyed, because guess what? A net that is not supposed to be able to catch something that big. I believe it was the halibut that they were talking about could reach 100 pounds, but a 280-foot submarine far exceeds that. So it was in the Norwegian Sea. So this is where it gets interesting. So it was in the Norwegian Sea. And you're going, well, what the hell was the U.S. submarine doing in the Norwegian Sea? Well, it shares land and maritime borders with Russia. Apparently, the Russians have some these new submarines. They're very quiet and they're very hard to track. And so we've been sending our submarines kind of up in that region to keep an eye on them. So maybe there's more to it than any of us know. But I just think it's funny that this small Norwegian fishing boat got caught in the middle of whatever's going on with the submarine. So I just thought that was funny. And the nets are $4,500 a piece, so it's not like they're cheap, and the Navy is actually going to replace it for them. That was very nice of the U.S. Navy. We are very generous people in the United States, to a point. But the catch on this article, which I got to give the writer credit, it said that definitely the big one that got away for that fishing boat. Next, in Wilmington, North Carolina, this makes no sense, but you just need to know this. Visualize it. That's what makes it funny. A man crashed a vehicle into another car, on a small highway. He got out, stripped naked, of course. I mean, that's what you do when you hit a car. You get out and you strip. And he fired a gun into the air 4 or 5 times. And then he ran off into the woods howling. Sure. I mean, I could probably just stop right there, and that's enough to get you going, okay, well, this isn't surprising. Humanity is what it is. But he returned like 30 minutes later to put his clothes back on, and then they took him into custody. No motive was ever given. His charge, I've never heard of this, his charge is going armed to the terror of the public, which is weird, plus additional pending charges. But just imagine the guy. It doesn't make any sense. So I just thought it was funny, the image of a guy getting out of a car, just taking his clothes off, shooting his gun in the air, running into the woods, howling. And he's like, all right, I guess I'll come back and put my clothes on and be escorted to jail. Lastly, before we get to my main topic tonight, this is interesting. There's a trolley driver in Boston. I didn't know they had trolleys, unless that's what they call like the trans or something, the train. But there's a trolley driver who paid a man $2,000, which, that's a lot of money, but it's also not a lot of money. He paid him $2,000 to attack him while wearing Halloween masks, so that this driver could collect workers' comp and disability insurance. So fraud. So this guy, Thomas Lacey, paid this guy, this other guy, and he's on charges of insurance fraud, misleading police investigation, perjury, all of those good things. But the prosecutors are claiming that the man pulled Lucy out of his trolley at around midnight on this night, the night before Halloween, actually, and punched him repeatedly. And then he was wearing a mask and holding a huge plastic pumpkin while he did it. Because, of course, you have to hold a huge plastic pumpkin while you beat the shit out of somebody while being paid under the table. So they found the fingerprints on the pumpkin, found the guy that did it, and the guy's like, nah, he paid me $2,000 and they kick his ass, and that was it. And, as far as I know, they're like, okay, thanks for your help. And they didn't do anything to this guy. And the guy was already paid, so he's throwing the other guy right on the bus. So, you know what? Don't try and fuck with the insurance companies. They'll always figure it out. We just told a story about a bear. There's 4 guys that pretended to be bears and ransacked their own cars. And don't do insurance fraud. It's not good. Plus, this is just ridiculous. I don't know how much I'd pay to just take a beating, but it's not $2,000. Tonight I want to get into something that's popular. That's just popular is the wrong word. It's relevant. It's part of our world, our society, us as human beings, and it's continuing to get more and more and more. And that would be AI. artificial intelligence, for those of you that need help with that. It's something that I don't think about a lot because we take our day-to-day technology for granted. But I got thinking about it with the conversation with a couple people. And it's as a writer, which is those of you that don't know me and haven't listened to the show, I have a master's in creative writing. I have a couple of novels, short stories, these types of things. And I appreciate and respect the idea of making inferences about our future. Guys, I'll get to that, guys like Huxley and Orwell and Bradbury, these guys that predicted, didn't fear technology itself, but feared our response to it and how we would behave. And so I started thinking about that connection and how accurate they were, and how, is that scary? Is that, what are we predicting now? And so the biggest question that was asked here that I thought was interesting, and I'll read it to you. This was done in 2018 with a study, and it said, by 2030, do you think it's most likely that advancing AI and related technology systems will enhance human capacities and empower them? That is, most of the time, will people be better off than they are today? Or is it most likely advancing AI and related technology systems will lessen human autonomy and agency to such an extent that most people will not be better off? That's kind of the question. Now, 2030, I don't know. Maybe it's going to start having an impact in a huge way by then. I'm talking more like maybe 2050, 2060. And I started thinking about it, and I said, it says here 63% said they're hopeful that it'll be better, that it'll help us, it'll make us better species. 37%, which is low, but it's not that low, said people are not going to be better off. And I've just gone back and forth, and that's what we're going to talk about. So I want to give you some examples of basic day-to-day. You know this, okay? Facial recognition on your cell phone. That to me is great if it's not being used for something else secretly, and that's the problem. Can somebody steal those images and use them as fraud? Manufacturing robots that help, but here we go again with jobs. So self-driving cars. To me, that reminds me of the movie Total Recall. The original, I'm sure the one with Colin Farrell was good, but the original, was it Colin Farrell? The original with Arnold was fantastic, and the cars would just drive themselves and take you where you needed to go with a robot driver. And now you've got Tesla. Sorry, Elon, but there's been some issues with Tesla. Not a lot, but enough to make you kind of, I don't know if I could do it quite yet. I don't know. What about you? Could you I know one of my acquaintances loves it, and whenever he's in a Tesla, he loves setting that self-drive. And I just don't know. I still need to be in control, and that self-drive thing makes me nervous. But smart assistants, so things like Siri, healthcare management, and if we can utilize AI in a way that does anything to help with healthcare, I'm all for it until people's privacy is jeopardized, if it gets to that point. Virtual traveling agents, which I thought was very interesting. So they'll help you figure out your vacation and where to go and get you booked and all that, and it's not even a human. I don't know about that one. I might have to try it just for fun. So the one that's kind of near and dear to our heart here at the show is social media monitoring and the algorithms that are involved. And my problem with that is that they need to perfect that, because you're looking at content that's not there with these algorithms. You don't see the content. So unless you have a staff that's adequate enough to review each one, then people are being unfairly flagged or reported or marked, or however you want to say it. Partner robots. This one's interesting to me. This is where they're getting these robots to look, I hate to say that they look hot like the women robots, but they're getting to be very lifelike, and they're trying to replicate emotions and feelings and the relationship experience, but with the robot. And I'm not for that. I prefer my wife to be a human being. But it is an interesting discussion because does it make it easier? Is it something that all of a sudden down the road are everybody just kind of has a robot and we've become numb to emotion and scared to trust and love and all that, and it's because you have your robot and he or she is taking good care of you in all ways, not just physical. So that's an interesting one. Sports analytics, and I hear this all the time now in football. I hear it, when it's 4th and 2 and you're on the other team's 46-yard line. It's like analytics say to go for it, and then the commentators will say, "Oh, well, Coach so and so he's all about the analytics," and it's just like, where did this come from? It seems like it's relatively new, and I guess that's part of it. I'm learning something new. Lastly, for just these are just examples, but lastly, and I'm going to give you a more detailed example, is automated financial investing. And this is really interesting because, trust me, after reading this, I was tempted to go and download the software and pay for it. I don't know how much it is, but apparently there's an AI bot that flipped Wall Street on its head was the title of the article. And it turned $1,000 into $50,000 in 30 days on the market. And what these bots do, they predict market trends with the intelligence. They conduct trades autonomously. The trader can choose to be aggressive or to be safe, and then the AI will approach it as such. So basically, you're almost using an advisor who is smarter than you, and that's in that field. And that's kind of, is it scary? I don't know, but apparently 10,000 downloads of the software have happened since this, and this was not long ago. And of course, a business will come along, and the rumor is that there's a U.S. business that will acquire the rights to it, of course. And it says the financial world is watching with bated breath to see. But I mean, come on. You're looking at AI. I mean, are they going to have a way to help people gamble? Are they going to have a way to help people bet anything? I mean, all of a sudden you're taking, some people don't like to gamble, and that's fine, but you're taking the human element out of something that is otherwise a game of chance. Is it cheating? Is it going to become the norm? I mean, is somebody's AI going to be better than somebody else's AI? And that's a question. A big one right now that talk about is GPT. I have people telling me all the time, just use it. It helps it go quicker. The main things that, you can write essays. What about school? What are kids going to learn? Are they going to learn how to write the essays, or are they just going to be told to go to ChatGPT? Emails, okay, that might be helpful when you're busy and you want to have an email written nicely to somebody. Go ahead. Text, things like that. I know I've got buddies that have admitted to me before, like, okay, I wanted to tell you and explain this to you, but didn't know how to do it, so I used GPT. Poems. I'm not for this, and this is where I come in as a creative guy. The poetry needs to be from the heart, man, not this GPT. Give me a break. You're gonna read some Chat GPT to a girl that won her over? No, come on. Lyrics, same thing. You can't be a songwriter, and that gets me to the music. So there's AI music, very similar to Chat GPT, except it's the music version, and you can have a song just written right then and there about, put in what you want it to be about, what kind of music it is, and it's a unique song. And you can, I don't know the details about copyright and purchase. I guess you can buy it from this, I don't know. But to me, that's not music. You're not a musician because you typed in some ideas for this. And I have an issue with that. Grammarly, same thing. As an English major and a creative writing master's degree, are we going to stop teaching our kids grammar? Are we going to stop teaching sentence structure, proper English, those types of things? Grammarly is different, I guess, because it's like having a thesaurus or a dictionary on crack, maybe. But I just think I'm worried as we continue to talk about it when you think about that question, are we going to be better or worse? These are the types of things I'm worried about. I don't want to become vanilla and bland and uneducated about things that have been crucial for human advancement. And are we just now turning it completely to AI? I mean, what happens if that goes away somehow? Look, people, I'm not the cyber geek that's going to be able to sit here and tell you how it all works and if that's a possibility. But what if the computers all shut down and we lose it and we've got a whole generation or two or three of dumbasses? What happens if they get smarter? And that's the big question. What if they get smarter than we are? You've obviously got film and literature. I, Robot is a good one. I think Will Smith was in that. And you've got robots that turned on humans. There was even the Time Machine where an Idiocracy where the writer had envisioned way down in the future, especially in the Time Machine. I think it was 800,000 years from now. People were just kind of like there. They were just robots, no pun intended. Kind of, they didn't have to think. They just kind of reacted to what was happening around them. And those types of things it's not as simple. Everyone goes, AI is great. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people. This is so cool, which some of it is. Stuff Elon's doing, stuff that people are doing. It's so cool. The phones, the different things you can do. But I just want everybody to think about it, because as I started to think about it and I started to connect it to my favorite authors from the past who feared it, and it's the human response to it. It's not as great as you think in many ways. And like I mentioned before, you have the big three to me were Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. That was written in 1931. 1931. So Great Depression was about hit or had already hit. The crash in 1929. You had World War II hadn't happened. You had none of this. You had the idea maybe of fascism, Nazism, things like that, but you didn't have the full Soviet scare that you had in the 50s up into the 80s. So Aldous Huxley's sitting here and going, test tube babies, and everyone's like, what the hell is this guy on? Guess what we have now? Test tube babies, drugs that can control the masses. We have those. It's kind of interesting how accurate he was. We can go further back to H.G. Wells and the things that he predicted to a point. But then you've got George Orwell that did 1984, and he wrote that in 1949. So very interesting, and a lot of it was stemmed out of the fear of kind of the beginning of the Cold War, Russia and communism, dictatorship, things like that. You've heard the term Big Brother from 1984, and that's what that stemmed from. But my favorite short story author was Ray Bradbury, and he did a short story called The Marionettes. Marionettes Inc. Forgot the Inc. And he wrote it in 1949 as well. 1949. And it was a very simple story about two men talking at the beginning, and one of them said, I need a break from my wife. I need a break from life. I need to whatever. There is a company called Marionettes Inc. that makes duplicate clones, basically. They're robots, but they're identical. And they'll essentially take your place while you're gone. So his plan was to go down, I forget which city, maybe Rio, South American city he wanted to go down to for a month or two and kind of get away. And he wanted to leave this marionette, they called it, with his wife. Well, the relationship between the robot and the wife is, the wife thinks that there's something wrong. She thinks that her husband is void of feelings. And then all of a sudden, the robot kind of starts to learn how to feel and learn how to be human to an extent. So much so that when the man comes home, the robot marionette locks him in a box, and then that kind of ends ambiguously. But the assumption is that the robot kills the man so that he can be with the wife instead. And it's just an example of Bradbury saying, hey, be careful what you wish for with all this technology. And I think just now we're kind of getting to where, okay, Back to the Future had great imagery in the bright and fun 80s of what 2015 was going to look like, and they were way off. I still hope it ends up like that because it's pretty cool. But it's interesting to see the different time periods and what they predict, and it all has to do with what's going on around at the time. The fear of communism sparked some of these writers. The fear of technology sparked some others. The fear of dictatorship, big government, which I guess is similar to communism. In the 80s, Back to the Future was like, everything was fun in the 80s. But they had AI in the 80s. They had, the waiter that would come over on the TV and take your order at a restaurant and goes back, and then your food pops straight up, or your drink or whatever, from the table. It's like the bank thing that shoots it up from your car to the bank. And so those are just examples. And so based on that, the pros and the cons. Let's end this. I just want you to think about it because it's so interesting, and I feel like I need somebody to talk to about it with, because these are my thoughts, and I don't know. I need to talk more. I need to experience more. I don't know all that's out there. I mean, someone tells me to do Chat GPT, and I'm just like, okay, where? What do I do? I haven't explored it yet. And everybody's saying, it'll make your life so much easier. But what happens when all of these things take over people's jobs? I mean, I occasionally freelance, right? I teach writing at the college level. I mean, if you have Chat GPT, do you need a professor of writing anymore? Do you need a writer? I mean, companies that would hire me to write some copy for them, or some, marketing, advertising, or anything, an opinion piece for sports or whatever, they're not going to need me anymore. They're going to just put it in Chat GPT. So are people going to be out of work? Does it lower what people need to do for work? And are we able to still pay people the same for doing less work? Does that make people happier as a whole? Does it make people not as intelligent? Where's the line? Which one's better? Which one's worse? And so that's the big thing is jobs. And that's kind of what I was leading to. And so there are pros and cons. And then we'll wrap it up to AI. Think about it. Let me know. Give me some comments. And I need to have somebody that's very, very much into this, that knows more than me about AI specifically, and to talk to me about it and to talk to us about it, because this is what I got out of it. So the pros, let's go with pros, because that's what everybody kind of thinks. Like, this is so great. Efficiency, of course. So increase in productivity, repetitive tasks nobody wants to do. You've got technology. Boom, boom, boom. It's being done. Quality of the work. Imagine it's pretty accurate with the computer. There's not going to be any typos, like one typo. There's not going to be one missing comma. The safety. So dangerous tasks that people might not want to do can be done without AI being sick or hurt or stressed out from it. AI ain't going to go home and beat on its kids. And customer experience, easy. Although I don't agree with that, because does AI count for all these companies you call, and you have to say this and that just to get through to somebody, and it's a nightmare, and everybody knows it, but yet companies still do it, except for a few that I admire. I won't plug them, but so customer experience, I'm iffy on that one. The other three so far I'm on. Supply chain visibility. So it's kind of like they're able to ID ethical violations that are going on within companies and with manufacturing companies. And I don't know how that works, but it sounds to me like it's a good thing. But again, it can go too far. Like I said, Back to the Future is a good example of looking at things like looking at the pros is being kind of the answer. Back to the Future, the only part of the technology that looked bad was because of human action when the time machine was stolen and brought back for a whole different use. But everything else was made to look great. I mean, I think they hydrated a pizza that was like this big, and then all of a sudden, 4 seconds later, it was like fully cooked. And that looks appealing to people. Fifth Element is another good one. Bruce Willis, where it was in the future and they went up to Mars, I believe, or they went to somewhere out into space, and everything looked kind of neat the way that it was done. The technology there was more positive versus some other ones like iRobot where it goes wrong. And so, and obviously, I think that the plot to a lot of the post-apocalyptic films and stories are likely due to malfunctioning AI. People don't think about that, but that's a good point I just made. I have to give myself credit there. Let's go to the cons, because that's what I'm talking about here. Privacy, data leaks. You're getting a lot of that right now. Even hackers. I've been scammed. Look, these assholes. If they have the power of AI and they have, don't even get me started. Job displacement. So we just talked about that. That's the big one. I'm going to save that for last. A lack of creativity. I talked about that earlier. I mean, are we really going to, are we going to lose the arts? Are we going to lose the creative sense, the creative drive in people? I mean, it's not just music and writing and things like that. It's home decor. It's if everything is being printed out and mapped out by AI, we lose creativity, and then therefore we become very similar to the AI that's doing the work. And dependence, decrease in critical thinking, which I was just basically saying, and problem solving. I mean, what are we teaching kids at school? What do we care about? Do we even care to learn? These days, I don't think they diagram sentences. I don't think they learn this. They stop teaching cursive. And we can debate whether that's important or not, but I mean, at some point it was. Why not teach it? Why not fill this thing with a little more information instead of just pressing buttons and watching screens? Back to job displacement, and I think that I'll end with that, because that's what this is all about, in my opinion. What are we going to do as human beings if AI advances to the level of not needing human involvement anymore for I mean, God, even if it's 30 or 40% of the jobs out there that now can be done with AI, what do you do? I mean, what does everybody do? Where's the line? Does everybody, I mean, do we have kind of a socialist type environment, which this country is not about, where we start kind of sharing and go, well, hey, all this is being done by computers. We only need 20-hour work weeks, people just to run the AI, I guess. So that's an issue. Think about it. Be careful. Let's not get too crazy with this AI. Let's take our time with it. People at this point in the world need jobs. People at this point in the world, we need creativity. We need something to propel us to better things. And a lot of these innovators that are ironically enough, using the AI to advance certain things. And I've said Elon a bunch, but seeing him snatch that rocket out of midair like that, if you know what I'm talking about, it was coming down and it was straight down, and they expected it to kind of land in the testing area or what. People don't get on me. I don't know how it all works, but there was something that kind of caught it and propelled it to slow it down to where it didn't crash. And it was incredible to see this clip. So go check it out. And these types of things are it's being used for good. That's great. That's something that's let's go. But just let's be careful, because I don't mean to bash a lot of you, but a lot of these computers could probably take over for you in life and be just fine, and that's scary. People need to think about that when they wake up in the morning and be thankful for what they have. Read Marionettes if you haven't, because it's kind of freaky that robot all of a sudden learned how to feel, and then he killed the dude. So anyway, that's kind of it tonight. I just started thinking about it. So I wanted to talk a little bit with you on the subject, and I'll be putting clips up like I usually do with some of this stuff. So comment, tell me what you think. If you are an AI enthusiast and you want to come on the show, let me know. Reach out. I'd be more than willing to put you right over in that guest chair and have a great conversation about it, because I want to learn. And if I said anything incorrectly in the very little that I gave you, I apologize. Quit yelling at me like you do, or do, because then I get more butthurt comments, and that's always fun. So I'm going to end tonight with a quote. And, you can apply it here to AI or not, but it definitely applies to life. And I think you should take this advice. Work hard in silence. Let your success be the noise. I like it. So thanks for listening tonight, guys. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff. Again, numbers are starting to go up, and I'm really appreciating what everybody's doing. So let's keep that momentum. Spread the word. Let's talk. Let's talk. Guests are going to come. Guests are going to start coming in. Hopefully we get Trey back soon. And but until then, let's just talk. Let's talk about what's important in our lives. And that one hit me tonight. So hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Love you guys.